Welcome to Leaders and Learners. My name is Tonya McKenzie, and you can find me at the intersection of public relations and leadership. Join us as we talk to organizational leaders, elected officials, experts, authors, artists, and personalities, sharing their stories, talking about how they got to where they are and how they continue to learn and lead the way. So without further ado, let's get into it. Greetings, good people. Welcome to another edition of Leaders and Learners, where we all know the best leaders are what? Lifetime learners. So hopefully you're here today to learn a little something about something we need so much in our society at this moment, the mentally strong leader. We have so many weaklings running around here. Let's keep it a buck, right? The people sometimes that are called to lead organizations, governments, hell, their household. Sometimes their mentality and their strength needs a protein shake. I mean, let's keep it real. There are so many things that affect how a person leads, how they lead in this world, if they're what they're influenced by, what they are motivated by. We need more strength, and not the strength of bullies, not the strength of those that just like the titles, but those that know how to get others to follow, right? So let's really dig into this amazing author that I have for you today, my buddy Scott. Hi, how are you?
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Tonya. I hope to give everybody a protein shake for the brain. How about that? I
I'm
like
just
that.
saying, like, I
Let's keep it real, right?
have a household full of athletes, and we talk all the time about strengthening their muscles
Yeah,
and tapping into what they know is the weakest part of them, right? I
that's
think
right.
that's another fear that people have is you have to identify what's weak so that you can strengthen it. It doesn't
That's
make
right.
you a weak person to acknowledge that you have weaknesses.
That's
It
right.
takes a strong person to acknowledge your weaknesses and then work on strengthening them. So I'm happy you're here today. Super excited. Why don't you share your story with the people?
Yeah, I think I started out in corporate life. Like maybe many of your listeners are still there, or maybe they've left, or they're thinking about entering it. And I spent 3 decades in the corporate world. I started out in mortgage investment banking, and I grew up in Procter and Gamble, and elevated to a point where I was blessed enough to run some of the company's largest multi-billion-dollar businesses. And an interesting thing happened to me about two-thirds of the way through my journey as I was, keeping my head down, working hard, doing, what I felt like was some of my best work in my life, working for Procter and Gamble in the marketing and in the general management kind of window, if you will. And I remember clear as a day, as two-thirds of the way through my corporate journey, I remember having the first discussion with a boss about, okay, we think you're ready to elevate up to the next level at Procter and Gamble. I was at a vice president level at the time, and it would have been the next step up from that. And we want to just start talking about what that would look like, the assignments that you need to do to be able to get to that next level. And Tonya, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was the first time that it occurred to me I didn't want that next level. And I hadn't thought about it. And I had put so much hard work and just assumed that my journey was to keep moving up the corporate ladder. And that's a great journey for many, 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 many people. For me, the next level up was not something that I was interested in doing. I was being called to doing more of what I do today now. I really wanted to broaden my platform for making a difference in people's lives with the spoken and the written word. I even wrote my first book when I was still at Procter and Gamble. And I listened to my heart and I paid attention to where my passion was going, where I was drawn. And I didn't say no at that point. I kind of followed it through and said, okay, well, let's continue on with the journey. Let's talk about where I might get placed, where that promotion might happen, all the while having this quiet doubt raging inside my head of, is this what I really want? Until one day I really made the decision. I've been a student of leadership for a long time. not just a practitioner of it. And I was learning more and more about what discerns the very best leaders from those that just happen to be in leadership positions. And after that first book came out and it started doing well, I realized that, you know what, I can make the leap here. I think I can truly broaden my platform for making a difference with the written and the spoken word. And I had that tough decision to make. Do I leave the comfy confines of a world-class company and all the trappings that come with that as you continue to rise up the food chain? Or do I make the difficult decision and leap ship to become an author, a speaker, a keynoter? And I obviously, 10 years ago, I decided to make that leap. And people always ask me, well, how did you make that call? How did you throw caution to the wind and just, not fear failing and walk away from that? And it kept coming back, Tonya, to one question that I would ask myself over and over again. And this brings me to the end of our story, which is, it's real simple, Scott. Forget all the pluses and the minuses of staying in corporate and all the trappings that come with it. Forget all of that, all the pluses and minuses. It boils down to one question. Will I make a bigger difference in people's lives by staying in corporate? For me personally, by staying in corporate and continuing to rise up the chain and run larger and larger organizations, or taking the chance to leave that environment and potentially impact millions with my writing and my thinking and my speaking. And when I put it that way, it became very clear to me. And I began working on my plan to do what I do now, which is write, speak, keynote, workshop all around the world.
I love that story so much because my husband, who was one of the youngest Black tech execs in Silicon Valley, worked his tail off to climb the ladder just to realize that the quality of life that he really wanted was not in the office.
Yes.
And it's interesting to me to hear others kind of coming to that fruition because we're not really brought up like that, right? Parents are like, go to college, get your good job, do the thing. That's
Yes.
it. These entrepreneurial spirited moves that you make, it's definitely not something that most of us are taught. It's something you feel and you act on. So I know that there had to be a level of fear there to really throw caution to the wind and jump into this. What was that? And do you attribute that to being mentally strong?
I do. I absolutely do, Tonya, and that's probably as good a place as any for me to explain what I mean by mental strength and how it helped me at that point in time that you're asking me about. First of all, I'm so proud of the book, The Mentally Strong Leader, because it's based on mental strength, and mental strength is not. It's helpful to say what it's not. Mental strength is not just EQ or emotional intelligence, which is getting your emotions to work for you versus against you. EQ is a slice of the bigger umbrella that is mental strength. Mental strength is the ability to regulate not only your emotions, Tonya, but your thoughts and your behaviors and actions productively, even in adversity. And I think I would argue, especially in adversity. And while most of us know intuitively that, of course, you have to be able to regulate, self-regulate your emotions and your thoughts and your behaviors to be successful at work and frankly in life. We know that. Here's the key. It's really, really hard to do that. Really hard to do that. And I know because I was on that precipice where I had to draw on my own mental strength. And then I'll get more into the definition of it in a second. But I had to draw on my own mental strength to get past my fear of failure, to help myself reframe failure for me, to challenge myself to remember that, you know what, there's actually only three ways that you can fail. If you quit, if you don't improve, or for me, most importantly, if you never try. I would have felt like it would have been a bigger failure to not try to make the leap to do what I'm doing now than to stay safe and to stay put, to your question.
Talk to me about, because many people that happen to watch our show, they are in leadership or they're speaking, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you actually went through the steps of becoming um, a professional development expert. How did you, like, what were your steps when you said, okay, I'm out, I'm done with this. I'm going to go over here and do my thing now. I'm going to follow my dream, my passion. What were those steps? Walk our audience through those steps, what that looked like.
Yeah, you bet. Couple of things. First of all, I had the safety line of what I had been learning about mental strength that, obviously we're going to talk more about. But I was getting so excited about what I was unearthing as a researcher about the power of mental strength in today's organization. So I knew that no matter what, I have that as my safety rope to know that it, things are going to be okay because I'm going to go and focus and teach on something that I know can make a profound impact in people's lives and in people's organizations. Number one, right? Have the belief that what you're going to go out and teach to the world is worth teaching. I had that belief. That important thing, number one. Number two, and I don't know, Tonya, maybe this surprises you, maybe it doesn't. Most of the times, in my specific situation, leaving corporate isn't for everybody, and I'm not here to advocate that that's the answer to and that's the only way to show mental strength. Not at all. For me, in my individual circumstance in life, it's what I wanted to do. It's what was calling to me in my heart. And I had to step back and remember that the risk associated, of course, is financially. What do I have to be able to make to continue living the lifestyle that I want when I leave corporate and no longer have that security blanket? Sat down with a financial advisor and made some assumptions that, look, I'm going to assume that being an entrepreneur is going to be rocky. Then I'm not going to make anywhere near what I made in the financial world. So I'm going to set this financial goal that's much lower from what I'm making right now so that I could start getting used to, I might have to trade down my lifestyle a little bit to be able to do this. That created comfort and peace of mind for me that I had a financial target that was very, very reasonable, very conservative. And then an amazing thing happened, Tonya. Because of that, I didn't enter this feeling pressure to, I have to get out and start making 6, 7 figures immediately, or I'm going to be screwed from a financial standpoint. I'd already made some assumptions that my family, we were going to have to trade down potentially in lifestyle, and that was okay to pursue it. But what happened was, because I didn't feel that financial stress, I was fortunate enough to be able to set a lower financial target. And I know not everybody can do that. I get that. But because of that, I did the best work of my life as soon as I left and started doing this. And the business grew faster than I could have ever imagined. And those ridiculously low financial targets I had set for myself were soon in the rearview mirror before I even knew it. So that was kind of point number two. And then point number three that allowed me to make this leap was to just start codifying all the things I had been learning. I'd been speaking to large audiences for a long time, long before I ever decided to leave Procter and Gamble. I'd been doing it within Procter and Gamble, building up my network of contacts, and also just honing my game, doing it voluntarily. Then I started doing it at chambers of commerce. Then I started doing keynotes for small, nominal, honorary fees, building up my strength so that by the time I left, my skill set was pretty darn good as a professional speaker. So those are the three things I focused on to enable me to make the leap.
What do you attest the rapid growth with? Where do you think that comes from?
I think it comes from feeling free of if I don't do this, we can't put food on the table. I've already made some assumptions about trade downs we might have to do, and I can now take some risks, put myself out there in the world, take what I've codified, not be afraid of it, just work from the heart, work from all the hard work that I've done, and listen to what leaders need from me. Not what do I want to talk about? What are the problems that is intersecting their lives? And when I started to focus on, it's why mental strength came to the forefront so clearly, because in today's world with so much disruption, so much distraction, so much chances to doubt ourselves, I knew I had a gold mine in mental strength in what I could teach people. So I think it's that, willingness, Tonya, and ability to really listen to my customer leaders and their organizations and how I could best serve them, and then developing content to be able to do that.
So, share with us what some of the organizational leaders were telling you they needed. I mean, I know you packaged it up in mental toughness, but what were the terms? What were the words? What are they saying to you for you to come back to them with, hey, this is the solution I have for your problem?
Well, I think I can do better than that. I can give you a specific test I ran and data point that I ran. And it all has to do within the universe of mental strength. So I've done this study a couple times, Tonya, where I asked 3,000 executives at a time, one question, either through a combination of surveying and face-to-face interviews. I asked one question, thinking of the highest achieving organizations that you've ever been a part of, that overcame the most obstacles, what were the attributes of the key leader at that time? Thinking like that's probably a pretty desirable thing to know. As leaders, we all are charged with creating a high achieving, high performing organization. We all know we have to go through a lot of obstacles. Wouldn't it be incredibly valuable to know what's important to build as a skill set to be able to do that? So when I ask this question, here's the incredible part. 3,000 executives at a time. Every time I do this, I get the same answer, Tonya. People will respond. 90 to 91% of respondents describe the same type of leader that they remember in that high achieving organization. And what they describe are the six mental muscles of mental strength: fortitude, confidence, a leader showing up as bold, willing to take risks and encouraging their organization to do so, having goal focus, the ability to focus themselves, keep it from being distracted, and keeping their organization focused on their goals, decision making, being both decisive and making high quality decisions, and messaging, the ability to stay positive even in the face of negativity. And here's what's incredible about this study that I've conducted multiple times now, Tonya, to answer your question. Even when I ask people to describe the leader, and they describe the leader that got them through that adversity in the same ways, exercising the same six mental muscles I just described, right? They may not have used the term mentally strong because it's not a common term. I'm putting it on the map, I hope. But when I would follow up that research and I give them a piece of paper and I'd say, okay, now I want you to describe that leader now that you just described to me in no more than one or two words. Here's a pick list to choose from. 95% of the time, Tonya, they would circle mentally strong. In other words, that's it. That's how to describe the leader that where we achieved more than anything we had before, overcame the most obstacles. They were mentally strong leaders. So this research created for me 6 areas of content that I could create under the umbrella of mental strength. How can you become, as a leader, have more fortitude? How can you have greater confidence? How can you be more bold? How can you have better decision-making skills, more goal focus, and message better to the troops in a positive fashion?
Sometimes words become kind of a cliche. I don't think people really understand the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
One word you just used, I'd like for you to dig a little deeper in, is
Yeah.
bold. What
Yes.
is a bold leader?
Yeah, and now let me ask you this: do you mean boldness in terms of like the concept of boldness, or what a bold leader looks like, or maybe a little bit of both?
You said it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how I describe it. In the book, The Mentally Strong Leader. I talk about each one of these mental muscles, and I talk about boldness as. Here's the way to think about it, Tanya. Boldness paves a direct pathway to growth. When you think about it, it by definition, it forces you to push your thinking. It forces you to get out of ruts. It presses you past discomfort. It sparks innovation. It requires risk taking and change. And when leaders think about, with that as a definition of boldness, when they think about that, hopefully it makes it obvious why it's such an important part of mental strength. And often it's sometimes where we start if we want to be mentally stronger. We have to be able to be bold and help our organization in all of those ways, especially on the risk-taking front.
What is it about fear and lack of confidence that keeps people from reaching the pinnacle of strength? Like
Yes.
what is that what is that what's the stuff that used to knock Superman down?
Kryptonite.
What is the kryptonite that keeps people from being mentally strong?
Especially when it comes to confidence, it's this, Tonya. This isn't my opinion. This is data. I've proven this hundreds of times in my research. We have the incorrect definition, first and foremost, of confidence. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. Confidence is your ability to manage your relationship with doubt, because we all have a relationship with doubt, whether or not we want to admit it. And
I
Tonya, I
like
could tell you,
that. Say that again. Say it again. Say it again.
confidence is not the absence of doubt. That is not the definition of it. It is your ability to manage your relationship with doubt, because we all have a relationship with doubt. I can't even count now how many thousands of people I have interviewed or surveyed, Tonya, for the book, The Mentally Strong Leader. I could tell you with great clarity, even the most confident people that I interview, the mentally strongest that have a high confidence muscle, will not tell you that they're confident because doubt never appears. They just know how to manage their relationship with it. And in the Mentally Strong Leader, I talk about a tool I call the doubt continuum, where I ask people to think about doubt on a continuum. On the left hand side of the equation is a danger zone, and on the right hand side of the continuum is a danger zone. Meaning, you can either be, with your relationship to doubt, you can either be overconfident, which is a danger zone, right? Where you're actually blowing through red light signals. You're not paying attention to signs. You think you know everything there is to know. You don't need to get outside counsel. You're overconfident. Danger zone. On the other side of that continuum, this doubt continuum, is you're paralyzed by fear. You're frozen to do anything because doubt has become so present in your life. And the goal, of course, in this continuum is to land in the middle, where you're either perfectly confident and you have a balance of what you know, what you believe, your experiences, and you're willing to challenge your assumptions and get outside input, and or you're embracing healthy doubt. That's your relationship. You know it's there. You're going to let it sit there in the background, not let it dominate you. The question isn't, if you can do that thing, it's how you're going to do it. You know the doubt is sitting there, and you believe in your ability to figure things out along the way because you have before and you'll do it again. So to answer your question, what are the core things that knocks us down? One of the biggest mental muscles that needs building is confidence, because we misunderstand the definition of it.
I can appreciate that. Why don't you let us know a little bit about what's in the book? What can people expect if they go ahead and grab that? How are you walking them through? How are the chapters set up? Is it an easy read or is it a deep dive?
Yeah.
Like, let us know and bring it up close so we can see it.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Here's the book, The Mentally Strong Leader. I'll keep it in the light here. Keep it in the light here. Um, it's got an endorsement from Dan Pink himself on the top. That's to answer your question. It's an indispensable resource. It's not meant to be a beach read. It's something you can return to over and over again. The subtitle is Build the Habits to Productively Regulate Your Emotions, Your Thoughts, and Your Behaviors. And here's how it's set up. In chapter 2 of the book, you get to take a mental strength self-assessment. It's 50 questions, Tonya. It
Hmm.
only takes you about 15 minutes. And it produces a mental strength score. So you can determine how mentally strong are you? What tier do you fall in? All the way from the top tier where you're a beacon of mental strength to the lower tier of, you're a novice, you're still learning. No tier is any better than any other. It's all about you and your journey. And then it also produces a score by mental muscle. You get a score to determine how mentally strong are you in terms of fortitude, confidence, boldness, decision making, goal focus, and messaging, your ability to stay positive even in the face of negativity. Then you're able to engage in the rest of the book and create your own tailored mental strength regimen. All the chapters that follow dive deep on each of the 6 core mental muscles: fortitude, confidence, boldness, decision making, and goal focus, and messaging. And within that, you get tools on how to strengthen your muscles based on habit building science. Because I said before, Tonya, look, this isn't easy, but we know we have to self regulate our emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors. And yet we still act like idiots at times, right? We still have emotions that are unhelpful. We still have unhelpful thoughts that are not going to help anybody. It's hard. It's hard.
Give me
Well,
three
yeah,
of the top. Give me your top 3 habits of weak leadership.
of weak leadership. Okay, let me see. I think that I'll go the opposite way here. I have a tool in the book about confidence called the self-acceptance scale that, it's similar to the Dow continuum, that talks about starting with a place of self-acceptance and then avoiding the degradations in confidence. And weak leaders do not avoid the degradations of confidence that creep in. For example, you could start being self accepting, but quietly over time, you start to seek approval. You start to compare to others. Negative chatter starts to come in. You might even believe you're not enough as a leader. You might have imposter syndrome. And some of the weakest leaders, their confidence erodes and the organization can see through it a mile away. If you've ever worked for a leader, Tonya, that's not confident in themselves, it's a small slice of hell. Because it is, if they're not confident, an organization is never more confident than its leader. And if the leader isn't confident, you're in trouble. That's a number one. You asked for three. That's number one. Two, I see a mistake of mentally weak leaders in that they don't control their negative emotions in the moment. They have explosions. They let those emotions get to them, and they show up in a way to their organization that is not helpful at all. I have a tool in the book called the redirect rhythm that takes you through 3 steps on how to be able to control your emotions in the moment for productive outcomes. Third way, you asked for 3. I think that leaders that do not have a great mental strength, their decision making process is not good. They let decision making bias leak in. For example, I talk in the book, The Mildly Strong Leader, about the 12 most common decision making biases you can fall victim to as a leader. For example, confirmation bias. It happens all the time, right? You go out seeking information to support the decision you probably already made. That is a bias that is not going to help you produce great quality decisions. And I see weak leaders all the time falling victim to their own biases when making decisions. Boom, there's 3 in a row. There's a whole bunch more we could talk about.
Good job. Give me 3 words that you would never want affiliated with you.
Okay, that's really good. I would say selfish. I would say not insightful, which I know is like two words technically, and I would say mean spirited. I would never want that associated with me.
So you're telling me that you have never felt vindictive or come on now. There has to be some level of humanity in this perfection that you've crafted.
Sure, but you didn't ask me for perfection. You asked me the question of 3 things I don't want to be associated with, and I wouldn't want to be associated with that. And of course, you bring up a really important point, Tonya. That the opposite of mental strong is not mentally weak. We all have a baseline to build from, and we all make mistakes. That if you equate it to physical strength for a second and physical muscles for a second time, just to your point, you're making a very good point. If Even if I was a bodybuilder, if I stopped going to the gym, if I made the mistake of stop going to the gym, my muscles would deteriorate. You have a house full of athletes, you already know that. Mental strength is very similar. Even if you make mistakes and you ignore a muscle over time, you got to get back in that gym. You can pick up at any time creating your own mental strength training regimen, build and level up the muscles that you want. But it starts with being forgiving about yourself. When you've let a muscle lapse, you can get back in the gym and work those muscles moving forward. So yeah, I'm not perfect in any one of those, but I'm proud to say that I can recognize when I'm not, and I get right back in that mental strength gym and work on it.
Okay, because the mean spirited struck me. I was like, there are times I can be mean spirited,
Sure, we all can.
depending on what has caused me to be mean spirited. So,
Right, that's
or
right.
that's just the Taurus in me, or maybe Taurus is the excuse for being mean spirited to someone that has been mean. I don't know. Anyways, I
There are
digress.
tools in the book to help you, just in case if you go into the mean spirited place too often. There's tools in the book that can help you do that. But hey, it happens to all of us.
It does. So I guess my question is, when are you knocked off of your axis? Because you've crafted this this map so well,
Yeah.
you have to at least let us know, when
Sure.
have you fallen off the horse? Like,
Oh,
what did
easy.
that look like? And then, just like you said about, you've missed the gym, but now you can get back on.
Yeah.
What has caused you, someone that has actually mastered this,
Yes.
to deter from your own roadmap? Because I think there is strength in acknowledging this can happen sometimes.
Absolutely. I teach this stuff, Tonya, and I still have to work on especially work on comparing myself to others. And as a keynote speaker, as an author, as a writer, I'm constantly comparing and saying, "Oh, wow, look at that person. They got a chance to do this thing with their career. They got a chance to get this book in front of that audience. They got a chance to do blah 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 blah." Remembering that forgetting that the only comparison I should be making is to who I was yesterday and whether or not I'm becoming a better version of myself. Right? I teach this stuff, and I fall victim to what I call the comparison dragon. Forgetting that when you compare to other people, that it becomes this dragon. And the more you compare, the bigger that comparison dragon gets. And the smaller you feel and the more dejected that you become. I still have to work on driving that dragon away. And when I do, when it happens to me, and frankly, most often it happens in social media, right? Where we tend to compare our blooper reels to everyone else's highlight reels. And we don't take into account they're sharing a world where they're showing you the best of, for the most part. They're sharing a world where you don't understand their circumstances of how they achieved the success that they achieved. Maybe there was something that was going on that was total luck for them. And then now they're just taking advantage of that luck and expressing it as an individual victory. I don't know. I don't know their circumstances. So it happens, to me a lot when I'm caught in social media doing that. And it's in those moments that I step back and say, okay, I have to get out of this trap because it's affecting my confidence. I need to get back in the gym and work on that muscle. And I do.
I can definitely appreciate that. I personally love to just share all my bloopers so I can look like an overachiever anytime I get something right. So, I'm throwing it all out there. Y'all
I
take
like that. That's a good strategy. I might have to do that one. I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
I scribble often, but when I get it right, I nail it. So there's an opportunity for us to stop taking ourselves so seriously that we're afraid to flaw and then find ourselves in the, oh, I wish I could be like, or look what she's accomplished. I'm like, listen, CPS didn't show up at my house today. I did good. I'm winning.
That's right.
The
Well
police
said.
didn't show up. I didn't get arrested today. I'm winning.
I get
I'm
it.
winning.
Well said. Well said, Tonya.
Spell check didn't catch too many of my errors. I wasn't a total nut today.
That's right.
I'm winning. So I don't know. I just and laughter. I think people don't laugh enough and don't really live in the moment.
Yeah.
It leaves us in a place to where everything is so serious and we always have to get it right. We don't. But if you have a little sense of humor, you find a way to use that for something else. And I just wish we were back in a place where we celebrated comedy and didn't take everything so seriously and we enjoyed each other in the moment, because that will keep us from being so like, I gotta get this right. I ain't gotta get it right. I'm gonna try.
That's right. Here's another benefit to what you're saying, just to build on what you're saying. One of my favorite quotes of all time is by a comedian who's no longer with us. His name is Victor Borge, who once said, "The shortest distance between two people is laughter." I think, especially since the pandemic, we've all forgotten the connective power and the connective tissue that happens when you show a sense of humor and you just laugh with another person. So I'm vehemently agreeing with you.
I will absolutely take it. So thank you for taking the time to share a little of yourself with us. Definitely the book. Why don't you let the people know where they can get the book, where they can also stay in contact with you, how they can follow you, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about The Mentally Strong Leader, the book, you can go to scottmautz.com, SCOTTMAUTZ.com. And I've also, you can learn about my keynotes, my workshops, all the things that I offer there, all my books. But I also put together a gift today for listeners, Tonya. If they're interested, if you want, you can get a 60-page free PDF that you can download that includes the mental strength self-assessment I was talking about earlier. And it includes prompts and questions for how to get the most out of the book, The Mentally Strong Leader. And if you want that free 60-page PDF, just go to scottmautz.com/mentally strong gift, and you can download it there.
I will definitely put all of that information in captions. I'm going to download it myself. Then I'm probably going to take it to TikTok and digest it with some of my followers there. But I think it's a great opportunity for people to really tap into who you are as a leader, how you can improve as a leader and get yourself a little thirsty for the book, because being able to have a resource, especially in those moments where you catch yourself, you're like, what do you run to? Where do you go? Do you have resources around you on a regular basis when I need to be better? I just had a moment. It wasn't my best moment. How do I A, B, and C? So having resources like that, it makes a difference. So thank you for sharing that. I'll make sure that that information is in the captions. And again, I definitely want to thank you for being here. I've enjoyed our talk. I need to go reflect on a few things, but I'm going to go ahead and download that resource also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tonya. And thank you for what you do. The world needs it. So thanks much.
I appreciate it. Hopefully everything is, I just try to get people to recognize that leadership is as important as anything else. I'm a public relations professional. I know there's a lot of glitz and glamour in the industry, but at the end of the day, we are building thought leaders, because people need somewhere to go when they want to be serious about being better. And nothing makes us better than growing and learning and finding other perspectives that enhance our own lives. So, that'll keep us hopefully from comparing ourselves to others when we know that we are working on ourselves. You are on your own journey. So thanks again. Please make sure you keep in touch. I don't know. We didn't talk about, are you going on tour with your book? Like where can we see you in person?
Yeah, I'll be keynoting really all over the world behind the book. Not doing a book tour in bookstores per se. All of that, the book tour that I'm doing in relationship with my publishers is a podcast tour. So
Okay.
thank you for being included in part of that book tour. But you can find the book, wherever books are sold. Most people prefer to buy it online, and you can find it at scottmautz.com. And I'll be, like I said, I'll be keynoting and speaking all over the place. So see if
Awesome.
maybe come and do a city near you.
Please make sure you share that information with me, and I'll share it with the audience, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get our book signed, huh?
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Thank you, Tonya. I'd like that.
Thank you guys for being here. Hey, thanks for showing up to the podcast where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. When you get a sec, take a moment, leave a comment. What you think about today's episode, and share it with someone that you know could use the gems that were dropped today. Follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss who's coming up next. You never know who could show up here and what they could say. For your professional needs, marketing, PR, communications, and leadership, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Sand and Shores, or hit us up at sandandshores.com. Again, thanks so much for showing up. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon.